Right up next, I'd like to bring Mr. Matt Medved up on stage. We have a very special announcement that we're about to make, and we're going to chop it up with a bit of a fireside chat. So let's go. We're ready. We're ready. Sarah, can you do me a favor and just click next on the computer? Cool. Okay, everybody, give it up for Matt Medved from Now Media.
What's that?
GM, Matt is back. Matt is back. Last mic as well.
Four's on. Perfect. GM, how we feeling?
We're feeling great. How's everybody doing? Are we still alive? Already what? Day 3? Depends on if you're a hacker. It might be day 7. You might be like really, stretching it at this point. But of course, now we got the graphic. Now we're cooking.
We look good up there.
I think so. This CryptoPunk is a signature at this point.
That's right.
So for anybody living under a rock, you've probably seen Matt around today, but Matt has been somebody that I've been familiar with in the space for years now. I think I've known you for probably 4 years now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Time flies.
I know.
But it also kind of feels like longer just because,
absolutely.
I would say weeks and months, in Web3, weeks are months and months are years. So
100%.
4 years is like 4 decades.
And cycles are decades? I don't know. Yeah,
exactly,
it's a whole thing. But for anybody living under a rock and not familiar with NFT Now Media, give us a little bit of an origin story, how this came about before we start talking about the very exciting things that we're going to come here and speak about today. Give us a little bit of that origin story.
So, Matt Medved, co-founder, CEO, editor-in-chief, Now Media. You probably know us for NFT Now, our digital art fair, The Gateway, and our Web3 content tool suite, Sovereignty. So the origin story, I come from like 15 years in the digital media, legacy media. I was at Billboard for many years, ran Spin Magazine as editor-in-chief, and was actually running content at Modern Luxury, the lifestyle publisher, when my friend Blau, the DJ producer, pulled me down the NFT rabbit hole in fall of 2020. And I've dabbled in crypto since 2013. Bought my first Bitcoin at the exact top of that market. I was the top signal, and still holding that Bitcoin, by the way. But but then like 2016 to 18, I was at Billboard. I was real focused on like how could this technology empower the musicians in the music industry? Could there be a better solution for royalties? And then, but it really took NFTs in 2020 for me to go full time into the space. I was like, I was like, this is a technology I believed in for a very long time, finally disrupting fields I'm actually passionate about, art, music, and culture, in a way that could empower creators. And so, I started to get really deep in the Clubhouse space. Remember, Clubhouse 2020 was crazy, and it was also in the middle of COVID. So like literally, I was just pacing around my New York apartment, like nowhere to go, nothing to do, just like diving deep into the future of digital ownership. And I started the NFT Now account in January 2021, and started just like posting art that I liked. And I was also tweeting about Clubhouse rooms that I thought were like cool or worthwhile, and everybody would like retweet them, and it became like kind of like, oh, like you want to check out what's going on? This is the spot. And at first, I actually didn't make it clear that it was me behind it. A, because I was still at Modern Luxury, and B, also I just kind of wanted to see whether it could take off on its own. And it started to take off on its own, and recognized that there was a real opportunity.
You were growing at like a pretty exponential rate.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram and Twitter. Those were the two. And what was crazy was like, when I got into Bitcoin in 2013, I told all my friends about it. I sent them all the white paper. None of them listened to me. None of them bought it. I still give them a grief about it till today. But I remember when I was like felt similarly excited and passionate about NFTs, I was like, I didn't have a white paper I could send people. Like I didn't have like one source of truth. There was like, if I remember that landscape at the time was very fragmented. It was a lot of platforms like basically like marketing their own like drops and stuff like that, and like a bunch of talking head like influencers like shilling their own bags, and there wasn't like an independent credible source. And I was like, that's what this could be. And so I remember after the Beeple sale, things really picked up in terms of organic growth, and recognized that there was a real opportunity there. And so I remember some people reached out, like Thank You X reached out, and
Awesome.
Lady Phoenix, and they were like, yo, we love this NFT Now. Who is this? And I was like, I wasn't like trying to be a non about it. So I was like, it's Medved. And they're like, you have to build this. And I remember talking to Blau, and Blau was like, yo, Blau, like, what do you think about this? And like, I was like, yo, you know NFT Now? He's like, yeah, they're pretty good, huh? And he was like, wait a minute. Is this you? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, where do I send the check? You know what I mean? He was like, and so we did our pre-seed in spring of 2021. We launched the podcast. We launched the newsletter in September. We did our like launch party
I remember.
remember, yeah, it was a blast. And we launched the website, everything, and we did our first gateway with Christie's that December. And that really put us on the map of the traditional art world. A lot of people were like, wait a minute. So a 176-year-old auction house is partnering with a 6-month-old startup called NFT Now to do what? And so it was this whole immersive audiovisual gallery, and it was really special. And so yeah, the rest is history. Look, it's like now like we continue to build different things. One of the things that's really important to us is we believe the future of media is on chain, and so we built a tool called Sovereignty, where if you go to NFTnow.com, we're actually the first fully on-chain media company. If you go, every article on NFT Now is minted on chain via our own content tool suite. We're currently deployed on Base. We're going to be expanding that to other chains, and we're looking to actually bring that to Bitcoin. So there's a lot of exciting things. So that's the origin story.
It's an excellent origin story. I think we need mic 2 back on, or maybe I'm just maybe I should switch it up. Chris? No,
I think I hear it, but it might just be faint.
let's be safe. Let's be safe. I remember this journey pretty viscerally because I remember seeing it and seeing the growth and seeing it being rapid. And I remember the first gateway in Miami and the culture and the feel of being in a room with all these journalists and Christie's, and then Beeple is there and everybody's just hanging out. And you've really created this ecosystem and really like given the ecosystem, I would say, a home in a lot of different ways. Talk to me a little bit about this evolution, because I'm a big fan of sovereignty. One of my favorite aspects is your, is this written by AI check, and this is all on-chain verification. And I actually brought it up in a conversation, just a day or two ago, just because I'm super, super bullish on this. And a lot of people are always asking, how do we, check and confirm that, AI has not written this, and is that a problem, and why do we worry about this? So we definitely want to give some alpha away today. I think we want to talk a little bit about where NFT Now is going, and obviously expanding into more verticals. And you might be able to already imagine what we're about to talk about, given the context of this event. But yeah, give us a little bit of the in between. And I don't think it's as long of a journey, but definitely a huge build that you guys have done. Give me an idea of how you've expanded from NFT Now, from an Instagram account to all of these different verticals, your newsletter, your event, etc., and how you continue to grow. And I think launch new verticals and now expand into this Now Media organization that you are today.
Totally. So for us, it's always been bigger than just NFTs. Like I always say, it's really about on-chain culture. And when we launched the company, NFTs were like kind of that was like the bastion of it, right? It was like NFTs were like the exciting new thing for on-chain culture. But to me, on-chain culture can take a lot of forms. And so what we've done is we've launched a number of verticals. We have, you're probably familiar with Now Runway, which is like our digital fashion and luxury vertical. We have Now AI for the intersection of AI and crypto. And we've continued to kind of like within the Now Media element. Now Media is like the parent company under which there's NFT Now, all those verticals, the gateway, our digital art fair, as I mentioned, and then Sovereignty. And for me, it's like it also allows us some optionality, in terms of branding. If we're partnering with a company that isn't so big on the term NFT, we can make it Now Media X, this. But I know that our purist community, like they still love like the NFT Now brand. That means a lot for them. And I also do believe like in niches our niches are riches, like there's an old saying, so you never want to go too general. But we've continued to evolve and move with the market. And so I think that like that's been a natural part of it. And this alpha, this new announcement is another part of it. So should I reveal it?
I think we should. But let's bridge the gap, because we're pretty early in the days still of Bitcoin DeFi. I mean, 2023 is really when a lot of this started coming out, in terms of ordinals, etc. And Isabel, who's here right now, actually just mentioned to me that Casey was invited to one of your events about a month after ordinals release. So you were definitely early there as well. I mean, no surprise. You've definitely been in the space. So I want to hear the announcement. I think everybody here wants to hear the announcement. But give us the transition from you as an NFT maxi. Obviously you've collected across chains. You know, it's you're chain agnostic, of course, and you guys have covered drops across a number of different ecosystems. But talk to me about your POV on the advent of ordinals, how you got into them, how you feel about them, and yeah, what's exciting you in the space now to potentially join the space in a more of official manner, and maybe let us know what that looks like.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, I feel really fortunate. I was introduced to ordinals very early. So I mentioned it on a previous panel, but Trevor Owens hosted a Twitter space for us called Not Financial Advice. In fact, he still does. And it started out as a trading space. You know, it was back when he was like really focused on ninja alerts. And I remember like February 2023. He comes to me, like, we get on the Zoom, he's like, yo, we gotta chat. And I was like, okay. And he gets on the Zoom, and he has this, like, wild look in his eye. And I was just, he's, like, so excited. He was just like, so there's this thing called Bitcoin ordinals, and, like, there's art on Bitcoin, and there's, like, communities, like, it's like NFTs on Bitcoin, but it's not. You know, it's, like, it's inscribed, and it's better, and this way, and it's that way. And he's just, like, talking a mile a minute, super excited. And I was like, you remind me of me in fall 2020 when I discovered NFTs. Like I was like this excited, like foaming at the mouth, you know what I mean? And I really trust Trevor. I think he's a brilliant guy, and he's a great friend. He's been a great supporter of NFT Now, early investor from the beginning. And I just think he's very like tapped into that space. And so with Trevor, I didn't know what an ordinal was. And I like only like kind of knew what it was after this conversation because it was like very like intense and fragmented. But I was like, if you're this passionate about it, then I'm in. Like I was like, turn Not Financial Advice into an ordinal space. So I greenlit that in like February 23, and it became like kind of that leading like early ordinal space. It preceded the ordinal show, all that stuff. And it was really where I learned about ordinals, and where a lot of people learned about ordinals from Trevor and everyone he would bring together there. And that's where I remember and then when Leonidas started to get into ordinals, he came on the space, and I actually connected the two. I was like, oh, you guys should talk, because I knew Leonidas from like the historical NFT side, because he had hosted a historical NFT history space for us. Yeah, crypto skulls and all that. And so all of a sudden, you know, Leonidas and Trevor together like created a monster, but you know, in a good way. But it was just like, it was interesting because like I trusted him, and I learned about ordinals. I was like, this makes so much sense. It's like, this is technology, this is culture on Bitcoin. It's the same things that excited me about NFTs on Ethereum when I got involved, but on Bitcoin. And so early supporter of it, and really, like, you know, we started to do a lot of editorial coverage as well around ordinals, like a lot of like how to get involved, what to understand, what do they mean, what's an inscription, like, you know, a lot of like demystifying it, the tech of it. And so yeah, it was really funny because like, you know, we like a lot of people in the ordinals community are like, oh yeah, you guys were like supporters early, and you know, I'm proud of that fact, you know, and like really all kudos to Trevor for like really leading that for us, and also exposing me and explaining to me what ordinals are and why they're so exciting. And so like, you know, one of the things that I think also is also important is like, you know, Bitcoin was my entry into crypto. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013. As I said, it was the top signal of that market. But like, I really believe in it. I'm still held on to that Bitcoin. I sent the Bitcoin white paper to all my friends back then. Like, you know, it's something that I have a lot of conviction in. And one thing I thought was really interesting was in 2021, you had an entire like new group of market entrants who came from the creative spaces, the artists, the musicians, like the creatives who started buying their first crypto because they wanted to participate in NFTs, or they wanted to mint NFTs, or they wanted to buy NFTs. And most of them went to Ethereum because that's where the action was then. And I remember we had my social media manager at NFT Now, a really young kid. He's 18 years old. He had decided to work for us instead of going to college. And you know, AJ, shout out AJ. And he like literally had never really thought that much about Bitcoin. Bitcoin wasn't really that relevant to him because like he had bought his first crypto to like go buy an Ethereum NFT. And I remember after ordinals started to like pop up, he was like, hey Matt, like, can you help me like better understand like Bitcoin? And I was like, yes, I would be happy to like help you better understand Bitcoin. And I realized that there are many like him. And not everyone is as young as him. Like a lot of the artists that bought their first a crypto to to mint their NFTs or things like that. They weren't. Bitcoin was like they knew about it. They know it's the OG.
Yeah,
but
the
like
NFT,
yeah,
the NFT fi onboarding of
exactly,
2020, 2021.
exactly. And so I was like, this is amazing because it's bringing Bitcoin to a whole new generation, and this is amazing. So I want to really get behind this. And so as someone who like again, I Bitcoin was my entry point, and as early supporters, we realized like. And I looked at like the media landscape, and I was like, there are some incredible publications out there that cover the Bitcoin space. Shout out to Bitcoin Magazine, everything they do, But a lot of what their coverage is focused on is, and understandably, the markets, right, and the financial side of Bitcoin. And don't get me wrong, Bitcoin is a tremendous, game-changing, generational financial asset. So it makes a lot of sense. But now we have an entire new generation of like builder culture on Bitcoin. We have creators on Bitcoin. We have artists on Bitcoin. And so it started to make a lot of sense for us to really double down on culture on Bitcoin in the same way that we were. Our mission has always been, since day one, empower the creators of culture and bring this tech from niche to mainstream. And so that's what we did during the Ethereum NFT boom. And we were like, look, like this is now happening on Bitcoin. I want to do the same thing. Like I want to support I want to create a platform to support creators. I want to shine a spotlight on like legitimate builders who are pushing the space forward, on innovators, like the projects that are doing really cool things on Bitcoin. I want to help showcase those. And so that brings us to BTC Now, which is our new content vertical.
Okay. Now we have to take a big step back because that's a big one. So BTC Now. Of course, we're talking about ordinals. Of course, we're talking about culture on chain. But give me even a bit of alpha on the ecosystem that you're excited about. I mean, obviously ordinals, the art, but now we're also seeing communities pop up on runes that are becoming mimetic and very similar in some ways to the Solana community. But also now we're seeing even stable coins and even like full 360 projects being launched as runes. Obviously, there's the whole BRC20 ecosystem that's popping up and stacks and all these L2s. How far do you see BTC Now going, I suppose?
Yeah.
Or Bitcoin Now going, yeah.
It's a really great question. I think like one of the things that like, so when I think about it, it's like on-chain culture, right? So like I said, that can take a lot of different forms, Obviously, ordinals are very top of mind for us because I think that they resonate so much with our own built-in community. They're like, it's like the people who love NFTs love ordinals, right? Because it's like it's culture and community, right? And it's art and it's very powerful. It's very sticky, right? I think runes are fascinating, right? Like I think fungible tokens on Bitcoin are gonna be culture. There are, but like there will continue to be culture coins and the like on there, similar ways that we've seen on Ethereum, Solana, et cetera. So that's definitely part of the ecosystem we want to cover. BRC20s too. We're not married to like what one medium or one format, right? So like I think even Casey would probably say like runes aren't like the end evolution of this, right? Like this is one step forward towards a better protocol, but he envisions like things continuing to evolve. We want to continue to evolve with those. But for us, it's going to be about culture. So I think Bitcoin DeFi is fascinating. And I think we're going to be able to do a lot there. Initially, I'm going to be more inclined to cover a community or an art project or an ordinals project on Bitcoin than like a new L2 that's just like kind of more finance focused. But I think as this thing grows, we can start to really incorporate those in ways that make sense. We do a lot of coverage of L2s and different chains that are catering
Optimism, all these guys doing culture.
The ones that are leading into culture. Like you look at like the base builder community, you look at Optimism, you look at like some of the newer ones like Storj, Abstract, Ape Chain, Anime Chain is going to be launching soon. Like all of those are part of what like our bread and butter too. So I think it's going to be like those counterparts on Bitcoin, right? Because some Bitcoin projects are going to cater more towards strictly finance. Others are going to be a bit more culture, and we're really here for the culture, And so for me, just in terms of that, I'm thinking about like we're gonna start with proof of concept, right? BTC Now is gonna start as a newsletter and a regular Twitter space, and we're gonna let it grow from there. It's also gonna be a dedicated section on like editorial on the news on the website, and we want to make it very heavily contributor driven. It's not about us coming and being like we're the experts on Bitcoin and like the arbiters of it. I want the people who have been building this to really like be leading the conversation. So for example, we first teased BTC Now. I was when I spoke at NFT Paris, we had an ordinals panel, and I teased at the end, and Danny from On-Chain Monkey is like sitting right there, and afterwards he made like a beeline over, and he was like, I want to contribute, like I want to write for BTC Now. I was like 100%, dude, like be on our Twitter space too, like that's great. And you know, we Trust Machine was there. They were like, let's see how we can do things together. Like I was actually really I was really pleasantly surprised with the response. Like people were really excited about it, and that got me really excited. And so that's what I want to tap into. It's not about it's about like empowering the people who are already driving the cultural narrative on Bitcoin to just like amplify it and give them our platform and build this thing together. And so I think BTC Now will continue to grow. I think that like I have big ideas about where it can go, but we're going to start with like, you know, something very sustainable, something that you know, that like is like a strong core, and build it out from there.
So exciting, so exciting. I'm bullish. Just to wrap us up and to give us some excitement for the very immediate future, obviously you come from the music industry, you come from arts, you come from culture, you worked at Modern Luxury, you've worked across a variety of high-end traditional publications, and then you forayed into this space, and you've really, I think, elevated, you know, working with the likes of Christie, Sotheby's, doing these events at the Faena during Art Basel. What are you excited to see come to the Bitcoin ecosystem? Is it music? Is it more IRL? What do you feel like is next from your perspective on Bitcoin?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think people are building really cool things. Like, I was hanging with the Tiny Vikings team, and they showed me what they've been doing with music, which I think is really cool. You know, so I was like, oh, hadn't really thought that much about ordinals or Bitcoin as the right like platform for music, but you know, they showed me that what's possible. You know what I mean? And now I think, and I'm very bullish on what they're building and what others are building with music there. I think one thing that makes so much sense to me, and I also think it's like, there's a reason, because I think it's just like a very clear like product market fit, is like high-end digital art, right? Like on Bitcoin, it makes a ton of sense. I think that there's already some really interesting projects in that regard. I mentioned on the other panel, I love what my friend Ali Walker is doing at Asprey Studio with ordinals. I think he's like really elevating and bringing like, you know, luxury and like high-end like digital art to ordinals, and bringing ordinals itself to an audience that normally is not plugged into that. You know, with his flat, you know, with the digital art gallery that they have above the Asprey studio, the Asprey flagship in London. You know, I think like looking at what artists like Harto and like Far have done, I think like they're doing incredible things there. I loved seeing like, and I love seeing like artists who are, you know, really established on whether it's ETH or other chains come over and do really cool projects on ordinals. I thought that like Postwook, her project was so cool. The Astronomer's Daughter, I think was the title of that one. You know, I know that like Thank You X has done stuff in ordinals. I know that Vinny Hager has brought his art over to ordinals. And so like I think it's like, I think you tap into a new ecosystem, you tap into new collectors. And the thing about Bitcoin, I said it on the other panel, I believe it, Bitcoin is the OG. Like it's the OG, you know? It's the biggest, it's not going anywhere. It's the thing I have the most conviction in the digital asset space. And, you know, it's also, like you don't bet against Bitcoin. You don't bet against culture. So why would you bet against culture on Bitcoin? It makes no sense, right? So in fact, rather than bet against it, we're doubling down on it. And so for me, and I'm sure that there's a lot that's being built in the space that I don't even know about yet, which is one of the reasons why I really want BTC Now to be really community driven, because like, you know, I always say like, you know, Now Media, like we're Switzerland. Like we kind of have to be here for everybody, right? Like we're neutral, like we're here to support all the ecosystems that are doing it. But like I love it because like that's why I love having the Trevors of the world in my life, because Trevor's so focused on Bitcoin and he knows the Bitcoin ecosystem so well. So I'll go to Trevor and be like, hey man, like I know you see a million projects through what you're doing with Pizza Ninjas, with Bitcoin Frontier Fund, all that. But like, what are the cultural projects you think are doing cool shit, or, like cool stuff right now, right? Like, and then being able to tap into what people are seeing and really elevate the right ones, and empowering you know the players in that space to do it themselves. So I'm really excited about it. We are going to be launching it. The plan is in May at the Bitcoin conference in Vegas. So good timing, and yeah, I'm really excited. So I'm sure that like a year from now we'll probably look back, and some of the things that are probably the most popular or the most exciting or successful projects on Bitcoin may not even be things that are on my radar now. And so that's why I know how innovative and creative this community is, and I'm excited to really be able to shine a spotlight on it that deserves.
Beautiful. And I believe some of those projects are actually in the room right now. So if you are one of those, do make sure to find Mr. Medved after the next panel, because he's sticking around. We got him booked back to back. We moved a couple things around, but Matt, thank you so much for doing this. Huge congrats to the new vertical. And if anybody wants to turn on post notifications and figure out what this is on day one, where can they find you guys?
Yeah, follow us on at NFT Now on Twitter, Instagram, and yeah, we're excited. So stay tuned, and a lot more to come.
Awesome.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you. Okay, a round of applause for Mr. Matt Medved.